welcome. I am so excited you've joined us today. I'm excited for many reasons, most of all because I get to talk to Ayres and Krystal Laporte, and I will bring them on in mere seconds. But today's exciting. It's the first panel brought to you by ConLive. ConLive is the company that brings all of the fun of live conventions into the comfort of your own home. They are bringing things to you virtually. This is also co-hosted by Anime Adventures, and that's the show that I host on YouTube, where I bring you interviews with my fellow anime voice actors and others as I normally travel to Comic-Cons across the country, but right now as I do these interviews virtually. I'm Elise Baughman. I'm best known as the voice of Pan on Dragon Ball GT, but let's get straight to it. I am going to introduce two people who really need no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. So first up, we are going to bring on Ayres. Of course, we know him and love him as the villain Frieza on Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball Super Broly and Dragon Ball Z Kai. And he, I think at last count, has done over 162 characters. He has also been an ADR director on countless anime shows. He comes from the world of theater. He's also known for dialects. He has been an actor in theater, a director, a fight director as well. He is truly a jack of all trades. And to top it off, he is a double lung transplant survivor, and we're going to talk about that too. And then his girlfriend Krystal Laporte is joining us. And speaking of jack of all trades, she is such a talented actress. I love her. She has done anime, animation, video games. She has done Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F. She is also known for Beyond the Boundary, for Overlord. She's done animation shows like Hazbin Hotel, and she is a lawyer. She's crafty from what I have seen as well. So let's bring them both on. I'm so excited to welcome Ayres and Krystal Laporte.
Excited!
Let's
can't wait to see these people. Well, I can't wait to see these people.
I know. I was so excited. I'm like, we're going to talk crafts.
Yeah, it's all about crafts.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, we've got a lot to talk about because we're announcing your meet and greets that you're doing on December 20th. We are going to talk about a huge event that you have going on December 19th. I want to talk about your health and how you're doing because you have a GoFundMe that I just love seeing all the support that you've gotten after your lung transplant. Huh?
It's been amazing. The love and support for the GoFundMe has just been amazing.
Oh, it's awesome. And my gosh, like you both have done such amazing work. I've loved following everything. So where to start? Let's talk about some things coming up because you've got so let's talk about the meet and greet because that is something that ConLive has set up so that fans can talk to both. So that's coming up on the 20th. Tell me a little about if people do a meet and greet with you, what they can expect.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I love about conventions is meeting and talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we were approached about doing this, I was like, yes, let's do this. A chance to get to meet and talk to people about things that they like and things that we like. And it won't necessarily, it's like our solo panels are not always just about anime.
One of the things I usually do for panels is when you do an actor Q&A, you can only expect so many questions because they don't really know us and we never get the chance to meet other people. So one thing, have you done it with me before? The reverse Q&A?
No, I don't think so. I've done it at other conventions.
I do a reverse Q&A instead where I ask all of the attendees questions. And it allows me to meet them and them to meet each other because the best thing about conventions is seeing those people from other states that you only get to see once a year. So and that's how I met so many of my friends. So I love fostering that type of relation. Get off the laptop.
Get down.
Our cat tries to get on the laptop during all these.
Oh, yes. Introduce Atticus. Well, so many people are fans of Atticus, too.
True.
And he's fans of the warmth of the laptop. So, what was this? Oh, yeah, I met a lot of people that way and thought they'd want to meet people that way. And so it's...
And for me, I found that I have made my closest friends from conventions A great example, my friend Jessica in Boston. I had finished doing the improv set at Anime Boston, and she pulled me aside and she said, please get off the prince, baby. Hang on, I gotta move him.
He gets on everything. I'm so sorry.
He gets on everything, and especially when mom and dad are doing something. But she looked at me and she said, I can't tell from watching you do improv. Are you long form or short form trained? And I went, I beg your pardon. She said, I can't tell. She said, there are elements of what you do that look like you're hardcore short form trained. And then there are other aspects that look like you're long form trained. And I found out that she has a huge background in improvisational comedy. We sat, and even though I'd known her for a while, we sat and talked till like 3 a.m. Wow. And, and I've said on panels, if you can find things that you have in common with a guest, you stand a chance of making a stronger impression and a longer lasting connection with that person. And so these one-on-one things for me are about that, about finding things we have in common. So I'm really looking forward to it. I was really grateful. That's the thing that I missed the most. I've not done a convention in over 5 years.
Wow. That's so true. It's those connections. And, I should say, of course, people can see we've got some information that's very helpful scrolling at the bottom. We are asking for questions. The three of us are going to chat a little bit, but we do want you to post your questions as we're chatting, because later in the live broadcast, we will answer those. And then, of course, what's exciting, this will be on Anime Adventures on my YouTube channel later on. So make sure you ask us your questions. Now, I would love to know, what are some questions that you love getting, that you love to talk about, whether it's Frieza or some of your other characters? Is there anything that stands out about your characters on Dragon Ball or another show that you have? And this is for both of you.
For me, with Frieza, it's I love arguing with Michael Tatum because he was the original writer for Dragon Ball Z Kai, and I fully swear that 99% of what is wonderful about Frieza comes from his writing.
Ah, really?
As a hardcore theater actor, everything comes from the text. And he gave me such great dialogue to work with. I mean, when you have a line like, once again, my dreams of immortality have been crushed against the shores of your incompetence, that's like Shakespeare. And he argues that it's the performance. And so we get into this little comedic argument over which really brought Frieza to life, the performance or the writing. So
I love that, because sometimes they ask questions of actors and don't think about the writing behind it. And I have had a conversation with Michael, and so hearing him talk about the writing, and then the fact that you credit him with the writing giving life to your performance, that's pretty cool. That's amazing.
I remember one time when I started ADR directing, I was working with a new writer, and he came from a theater background, and he and I were talking about character voice, and the producer goes, "Oh, no, the actors will do the voices when they get in there." And I turned and said, "No, excuse us, we're talking about character voice. That's word choices, the way things are phrased, the way things are put." I said, it's each character. If you're a strong writer, you should be able to look at a script and say, "Oh, that's Vegeta. Oh, that's Frieza. Oh, that's Gohan." Just strictly based on the language and the word choices that a writer has used. And when I ADR write, that's something that I very much try to keep in mind all the time. What about you? Questions that you love?
Yeah, what about you, Krystal?
Well, questions, we most of the ones that we get, I do one thing a lot, almost once every few months, for Has Been Hotel, called the Honeycast, which is basically a round table of the actors or staff that worked on it taking questions. But most of the stuff we get is in the form of comments. And one of my favorite things to hear is about how any character connected to a fan, or how they see themselves in the character. It allows you, for me, it gives me a greater appreciation of any show that I'm involved in, to see how it connected with another human being, or how they saw themselves in anyone's performance. And I've always thought that every human in the world has at least one fact about them that if you found it out, it would blow your mind. So I'm always trying to find it out when I meet someone, like, what's going to absolutely blow my mind about you? And that's one of the ways I always find that out, because it's amazing to see how art or animation has helped people champion themselves through life's adversities.
Absolutely.
That's so cool. I love that answer. It kind of gave me chills, because on the surface you think, oh, people are just watching anime. They're just watching animation to escape. Well, there's so many deeper levels that people do use it to overcome adversity, like you said, and to connect with somebody, or to see themselves in a character and use that to build themselves up. Or I've talked to people who have characters like they connect with Goku, or they connect with something in a different show and find confidence in themselves. So it's really cool when people grow because of a show that they're watching and because of a character that one of you have voiced. I love that answer.
I think that's a reason to always, as a performer, a director, or a writer, give 120%, because you know, a lot of people in the industry, and I know you've been there, a lot of people will be working on shows and poo-poo them and go, oh, well, it's just a piece of crap. And I've had directors literally say, well, just get in there and knock it out. And I as an actor, I can't do that, because anytime you do a show as a director, an actor, or a writer, or a sound engineer, or whatever, that is someone's favorite show.
Yeah.
And that is the reason that you should always give 110%. A theater director I worked with, Fran Soder, who I did the national tour and Broadway production of Peter Pan with, told us about 2 nights before opening, he said, please realize that when the conductor's hand drops for the first downbeat of the orchestra, there is a child whose life is going to be changed as a result of having seen the show. And to me, it's the same way with what we do in anime. If you don't, and that's the reason you give 120, 150%.
Wow.
Stop messing things over.
My cat is currently on the bathroom sink throwing all of my makeup on the floor, but I'm going to be professional and sit here and cry later.
You'll just see me occasionally go.
Inside, you're secretly like having a panic attack, but on the outside, you're very composed.
Bye, Mac Blush.
But anyway, well, I said didn't need that Mac blush anyway. Speaking of people who give 120%, you both are bringing together a ton of talented actors and performers this Saturday to also raise money. And we should talk about that. I mean, you, 2 things. You have an exorbitant amount of medical bills, and so you're doing a couple of things to raise money, and all of the proceeds will go to medical expenses, but you're bringing together so many actors and performers this Saturday. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, part of the thing is that GoFundMe's, unless you keep bringing attention to them, they stall.
Yeah.
And while it may stall, the medical bills that I have, I've been through, I will, as of this past Monday, I have had 21 COVID tests. The nasal swab where they go up in your brain. Because every time I go in for any sort of procedure or exam or something, I have to have a COVID test to protect the doctors. Well, those all cost. And the medicine that I take, even with my insurance, my Medicare is $1,500 a month. And but 2 of them, if they were not provided by Pfizer, would be $6,000 a month on top of that for just each medicine. That'd be another $12,000, and that's to keep me alive.
And so, your transplant, that was October 31st, is that right?
Last year, October 31st. Last year, yes. Okay. I'm a little over a year old. It was on Halloween, which is perfect. I'm a huge horror movie fanatic. We both are. And
that's
so what a perfect birthday, what a perfect second birthday for me than Halloween.
That's crazy that you're both horror fans and you got your transplant on October 31st. Like, what are the chances?
It was the best Halloween ever.
Yeah.
But we actually didn't find out that we were both horror fans for the first few months we were dating.
Yeah, for the first few months.
Really?
Yeah. When we first met, he said that he is a horror junkie. And I was like, oh, you are? We're going to need to talk about that because I'm a bigger horror junkie. But he thought that I meant that I was going to like tried to get him out of horror or to stop watching it because it was unholy or something, and he just wouldn't bring it up.
Talk about it.
He wouldn't bring it up in fears that he was going to find out that I hated it. And so one day, like 3 months after we were dating, he calls me and he's like, "So what are you doing?" And I'm like, just a Girl in the Box B movie, live animals. And he's like, "What?
What?"
And
I was just watching that 2 days ago. But yeah, so where, GoFundMe's and things like that will stall out, the medical expenses keep pouring in. And so we were talking about something to do to just bring awareness to needing donations and stuff. And I know it's a hard time to ask for donations because COVID has kept so many people out of work. It's Christmas time. It's the exact wrong time to need it. But with situations like this, the need never stops. And until I'm working full time and back on regular insurance, I do have to keep doing fundraisers and things like this. But so Krystal said, "Well, what about a Christmas party?" She said, "What if we got some friends together online?" And so I just put out a feeler to a bunch of different friends and said, "Hey, are you interested?" And almost all of them got back to me.
All of them, but like two.
All but two got back to me and said, "We'd love to be a part of it." In fact, one person doesn't check their Facebook very often and came to me late and said, "Oh my gosh, we're just seeing this. Is it too late to be a part of it?" And I was like, "No, you're just in time." And so Derek Stephen Prince hosts his own chat show with voice actors on his Twitch. And he said, "Look, Lauren and I can set this up and do everything you need. We've got original music that's going to be done for it, for in between the segments with people." It's come together so beautifully, and so many people have been.
And isn't this going to be the?
Yeah, there's
invite. So who are some of the ones? I see. Let's see. Do we have? Oh, okay. This is the announcement. Who are some of the people? Can you tell us some of the?
We've got.
I've got the tweet somewhere.
She's got the tweet somewhere. Hang on, we're pulling up the tweet to look for it. Because Stephen posted almost everybody that has already confirmed as being there. Let's see. We've got. Whoops! Don't tip it over, baby. We've got Mike McFarland, Chris Bevins, Rachel Robinson, Brandon McInnes, Michael Tatum.
Don Bennett, Brian Massey,
Madeline Morris,
Sunny
Straight,
Chris Ayres,
myself, Krystal, Derek Stephen Prince, Atticus, who hopefully will be at a Santa Claus outfit. Well, and we've got a bunch of Ricky Simmons, who plays Gurr on Invader Zim, and his wife Tavisha.
Amazing artists.
Amazing, incredible artists. Dino Andrade, who's the voice, who's done a tremendous amount of voice work, and his son Connor, who is the voice of Baby Groot on the new Spider-Man animated series.
Wow.
They're going to be here. And then we're also going to have a convergence of Friezas.
First time, right?
For the first time, we're all going to actually be together for something. And even though it's virtual, it's going to be myself and Linda Young, who is the Funimation original voice of Frieza. Damon Mills, who was my understudy when I was too sick to record. He actually did a really impressive voice match of me, so that fans never really heard a difference between when I wasn't able to do it and then when I came back.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
And then Derek Stephen Prince, who is the voice of Frieza for the Bang Zoom dub for China of Kai, and Martin Billany, who is whom I adore, who is the voice of Frieza for DBZ Abridged. And so we're actually all going to be together for the first time.
That's amazing.
That's really exciting. I'm really excited.
Wow.
It's very funny. The first time Martin and I met, Krystal would not have dated me had I not watched DBZ Abridged, because she's such a fan of the Team 4-Star guys.
That was a deal breaker.
That was a deal breaker. It's a deal breaker. Yeah.
His was horror, mine was Dragon Ball Z Abridged. It all worked out.
But good. I was at a convention. I was at San Japan, and Martin was a guest. And Martin had been avoiding me because someone had told him that I was furious and hated his impression of Frieza, and that I was just out to hurt him or something. I don't know. And so when I found that out, I immediately sought him out to tell him how funny I thought he was. And when I came up to him and I said, "Hey, are you Martin?" And he's like, "Yes." And I said, I really just love what you, and you could see this wave of relief wash over him. But somehow someone had told him that I hated it and hated him, and nothing could be farther. It's like the people that try to say Linda and I hate each other. There's so many people that when I first started doing it that had this big thing that Linda and I hated each other, and I absolutely adore the woman. She was my first Frieza.
Yeah.
How can I hate my first Frieza?
It's crazy how those things get started.
I know.
I think it's a matter of boredom and
people wanting there to be drama.
Yeah, I think some people are far more entertained by people hating each other than by seeing two people be like, "Oh my God, I love you so much.
I love you, no, I love you.
I love you." And I prefer people flailing with love, but
yes, me too. And hi, Gina. I remember I was
we're getting a ton of comments. I see. I was in the private chat. I'm in the group chat. I love all of the comments. Thank you guys.
I just happened to notice she was somebody that at Anime Boston I did her I helped her with her project that she was doing.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. And if you have it, we were mostly getting comments, but if anybody has questions, let us know as well. And of course, we should mention that you have a GoFundMe.
Yeah, we have the GoFundMe, and all of the money from the meet and greets on Sunday are they're not coming to us. They're going straight to the GoFundMe.
Yes.
We don't see a dime of that. Then actually, I have someone who's taking care of the medical bills, and it's going all to take care of the medical bills that are rapidly piling up.
Yes, they do. I know it's sad that it's so expensive, but man, I can only imagine. I heard you say one time, "Oh goodness, of course they started mowing right outside my door." Isn't that like Murphy's Law as you're doing a live? So if you hear noise, that's what it is. But I heard you call it the $1 million surgery one time.
That's actually what the hospital, the doctors call it. And it's actually closer to doctors say it's actually closer to a $2 million surgery. By the time you go through, I was in the hospital for 2 months. And so I wonder, can they hear me?
I can't hear you.
Guys hear me?
I'm about to text my husband and tell them to stop doing yard work.
But it's actually probably closer to the $2 million surgery between all the hospital stays, the visits, the actual surgery itself, which is funny. One of my surgeons was a Dragon Ball fan and did not find out until after the surgery that he had been working on me and was beside himself. And fortunately, Krystal gave me, because a lot of doctors and nurses are actually big anime fans. And so,
I remember when he came to visit, I said, "Now is your chance to kill Frieza."
Yeah, when he came in, Krystal goes, "Now is your chance to kill Frieza." And he just like, but Krystal made me these beautiful cards that have Frieza bowing.
I might have one.
See if we've got one. And there are a new set of lungs behind Frieza, and it says thanks. And we got about 200 of them. And every nurse, every doctor, if they wanted one for their kids, if they wanted one for a boyfriend, if they wanted one for themselves, I spent so much time signing thank yous because these are the people that helped me stay alive. They kept me from dying. So,
Wow. So that my husband just stopped them from mowing right by my
window. Hear it.
Yes. Of course, it happens right now. So I missed a section of the story, but did you say that you were actually, like, after your surgery, you were in the hospital signing for people, doctors and nurses?
Yeah, the doctors and nurses. There are a lot of doctors and nurses that are anime fans. And a lot of them were big fans of Dragon Ball, including one of my transplant surgeons.
And I got to visit you for
And
Thanksgiving.
Krystal visited for Thanksgiving. That's when she told the doctor, "Now's your chance to kill Frieza." But Krystal made me these beautiful cards, which unfortunately I'm out of. But it's Frieza bowing, and behind him are a new set of lungs, and it says thank you. And so for every doctor, nurse, if they wanted one for their kids, if they wanted one for themselves,
oh wow!
I was more than happy to sign. I mean, these are the people that are help me stay alive.
Yes.
And Krystal actually did that for the first time I was in the hospital.
Wow.
She did it for just as a thank you to all the doctors and nurses. Because 4 years ago, I was in the hospital for 3 months. In fact, I almost died twice the first day that I was admitted.
That's what I heard.
Then a week later, I almost died again.
We found out he was allergic to albuterol. Tigers! The comment, sorry. We love Kristen Tennant.
Kristen Tennant does a lot of the prints for myself and Linda Young and David. She does all these amazing Frieza prints.
I didn't hear whose name you said. I know her. I have a friend.
Yeah.
I love her. Hi.
One of the most wonderful people in the entire universe.
I met her at Comic-Con last year. Oh, that's so exciting.
Yes, you did.
I didn't hear what you said. Now,
also
did you
Atticus's aunt. She's also Atticus's aunt. Out of all the people that Atticus has met, I went to dinner with her, and Atticus loved her.
The other person Atticus adores is, I don't know if you've met Helen McCarthy.
Oh, really?
That is Atticus's godmother.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Godmother, and he loves her.
Wow. Now, did you find out, back to albuterol, did you find out in the hospital that you were allergic to it?
Yes, it sent me into tachycardia and almost killed me. And they rushed my family and everyone out of the room and rushed me to a crash room where I almost died. And they revived me. And then I almost died again. And they revived me. And then a few weeks later, a nurse had not read the chart correctly and gave me something, an inhaler with albuterol. And it almost killed me again. And they resuscitated me in the room that time.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, they almost lost me 3 times in a week.
That is scary. Now, I am wondering, because you seem like you have kept a very good attitude through this all. And of course, I should say, Chris, you and I have not met until today. Krystal, you and I got to meet at a Kimono Friends party. But it seems that, Chris, at least knowing you online, you've kept a good attitude. How do you kind of keep a positive spirit and keep pressing on?
We have to. I've got reason to survive, for one. I've got good reason to survive. But I'm a firm believer that when you go through an ordeal, any sort of ordeal, keep your spirit, your faith, and your sense of humor strong. And those will help you get through. And I made a promise to myself, and Chris, as Krystal will tell you, I did not always live up to that promise, but I promised myself the very first time I went into the hospital that I really wanted every single person, be they doctor, nurse, PCN, janitor who cleans the room, person who brings you your food, didn't matter who. I wanted everyone to have a better day for having come to help me. So I got to know people. I got to know their families. I've asked about their children. I asked, even now, whenever I talk to somebody from the hospital, like, with COVID and everything, I'm like, well, how is your health? How's your family's health? Is everybody safe? And so when I go to do my immunoglobulin replacement therapy, there are two little nurses that the guy pulled me aside. He said, I want you to know I get a huge laugh on the days you come in because these 2 little ladies argue over who's going to get you, who's going to be your nurse and take care of you for the day. Because the immunoglobulin replacement is about an 8-hour process. That's a lot like
dialysis.
It's a lot like dialysis. All I can do is just sit there and get the infusion in. And so, they bring you your lunch, and if you need anything, they get it. But yeah, they argue over who's going to get me because I tend to be pleasant. I mean, I found out from one of my physical therapists. He was talking about how nice I was to everyone. He said, I've had patients throw a full urinal at me. He said they were just in a bad way and they just threw it across the room at him. He said, and that's the only time I've ever walked. He said it's the only time he's ever walked away from a patient. But Krystal will tell you there were a few days that I was in a lot of pain and was not always on my best behavior. And she would tell me I was being an ass. And I usually apologize.
He asked me to.
I asked me to. Yes, I absolutely. I said
he told me to be on ass watch.
I said if I'm ever inconsiderate or rude to any of these people, let me know.
Yeah.
There were only 2 instances of my getting snippy that it was deserved.
Oh yeah.
3.
Considering what you went through and how much you had to deal with and how much pain, that's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah, there were only 3 times that I really lost my cool. One was 4 days after my surgery, and I was literally, by the time the other nurses got there, I was on my feet screaming in this guy's face.
But he got fired.
But he got fired. He didn't get fired. He got sent to a different floor where he sat with people who were in a coma, and that was all he got to do.
Wow.
But he was really out of line. He almost hurt. He almost got me physically hurt. And it was not cool. The other was a doctor who literally, this was the first time I was in the hospital, who walked in, and is
this my nemesis?
No, this is not your nemesis.
Oh, okay.
This doctor was back at the first hospital.
Yeah.
This doctor walked in, and I was used to doctors walking in and going, "Your lungs are terrible." I was used to that because my lungs were in horrible condition.
Really?
I was on by the time I had the transplant, I was on 11% lung capacity.
Oof.
But this doctor walked in and said, "Well, your lungs are just effed. They're absolutely effed up. You're in major trouble." And he was so insensitive and so mean. I just answered his questions, and when he left, I hit the call button for the nurse, and I asked to speak to the charge nurse. And so they both came in. I said, "What is the doctor's name that just left?" And they said, "Well, he's filling in for your pulmonologist. His name is such and such." I said, "Well, I'd like to tell you this." And within an hour, 3 different people from the hospital called me. And the next morning, the head of the hospital called me, all to apologize. And then about an hour after he did, my pulmonologist called and said, "I am so sorry that happened. He will never substitute for me again. He is off my list of people to care for my patients. I would never." She said, "I'm so sorry." And that I didn't really lose my cool. I just stayed calm and said, "This is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
This is inappropriate." But yeah, one doctor came in who was Krystal's nemesis. He is now one of my favorite doctors.
Really?
Originally, I was supposed to have a double lung transplant and double bypass. They discovered when I was in the hospital that I had 2 arteries that were 100% blocked. And so they were going to do a double lung transplant, double bypass at the same time. And all of the doctors were in agreement because my lungs would not hold up for the heart surgery, and my heart would not hold up for the lung surgery. So it had to be done at the same time. And there was only one doctor that was opposed to the idea, and it affected everything that he did. And he walked in the first time he met Krystal, and he goes, "Well, I wouldn't count on having more than 3 years with him."
He's like, cancel your wedding plans.
Cancel your wedding plans because you're not going to get more than 3 years with him. Well, so cut to about a year later, I had to go for a heart cath, and the doctor who was supposed to do it got sick. And the doctor who was filling in for him was one of the heads of cardiology for Methodist Hospital, which has one of the best heart centers in the world. And he said, "I'm looking at your chart. You're supposed to have." Stop it. He said, "You're supposed to have a double lung transplant and double bypass." And I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "That's very risky." And I said, "Well, there's nothing they can do." He goes, "What about stents?" And I said, "Well, they said the blockage is too long to stent." And he laughs. And he said, "Young man, that was back in 2017. This is 2018.
Oh.
And he approached my transplant team the following day, or no, the following Tuesday, because they meet on Tuesdays, and said, "Look, if he's willing," he said, "this can be stented. And if he's willing, I will do it myself." And he's one of the heads of cardiology for the whole network of hospitals. And they told me. And what?
Oh, we got questions. I'm sorry, I was looking at the price.
Yeah, they told him. They called me and they said, "Look, he's willing to do this." I said, "Well, then when do we do it?" And so I went in, had the first heart stent. 6 weeks later, had the second. The blockage is completely gone, completely cleared up. And the next time I saw this doctor that is her nemesis, that she calls her nemesis.
I love him, but he's still my nemesis.
He was joking and laughing and in the best mood because, and we talked about, he actually is the doctor that is the biggest stickler for the rules, and it has to be done this way. And he's a great guy, but he's also, if you want him in, he's one of the best you can get. And now that it was just the lungs, he's like, "Oh, we've got that. That's no problem." And he completely is a different doctor.
Wow. So, what a blessing to get him.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we've got
all my doctors on the team are amazing. It's a blessing to have all.
It sounds like you had an amazing team. Yeah.
I've got an amazing team of 5 pulmonologists, cardiac surgeons that are my team, and they're amazing. And My coordinator, my pre and post coordinators have been incredible. So I'm very, very lucky. So we had questions.
Yeah, we had some questions. One, oh, this is just a fun one. What is your favorite holiday food? For both of you.
I'll let you go first. I've got two.
Okay.
Terminio. Hope I got that right.
Okay, so mine's kind of like, there's a lot of them. I'm very Italian. My one side of my family is from Sicily. The other side is from Naples, and my grandparents came here. So every year on Christmas Eve, and I am devastated that I'm missing it this year, we do something called the Feast of Seven Fishes. And it's a religious feast, but you make different kind of fishes. So you have like octopus salad, bacala, salted cod, and I just love Christmas fish. Any kind of Christmas fish. They changed up the courses. Like there's usually salmon, scallops, but any kind of Christmas fish.
Yeah, and I'm not a fish person. I'm not a fish person, but my great grandmother used to make the most amazing fruitcake cookies. And
you still need to call.
I still need to call my uncle and get the recipe because he's got the recipe. But Krystal just recently was experimenting on some things for to make my family for Christmas, and she's going to be here
because we're only like 15 minutes.
It's away from my mom and my brother, and she made an eggnog ice cream cake, an eggnog frozen pie.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best desserts I've ever had in my life.
That sounds amazing.
A close runner up. It's very, very close because she also made a turtle icebox pie.
Oh. But
I don't know what the filling is, but it's covered with chocolate and caramel and pecans like a turtle. And both of those are unfriggin' believable.
Wow.
I'd say both her two pies and the fruitcake cookies.
Okay, so here's another question we have. Who are some of your biggest inspirations, or what are some of your biggest inspirations? So I'd love to hear you both answer that.
You go first on this one.
Okay, well, there's a lot that depends on what you're asking. If you're talking fight directing, Bill Hobbs, J. Allen Sudduth. For directing, my career has been greatly influenced by Bob Fosse and Jerry Robbins and Hal Prince, and just in terms of style. In terms of voice work, it's very interesting. You know, there are a lot of people that are role models. People, you know, like Mel Blanc and people like that people always say. But for me, Lily Tomlin, the two guys from Greater Tuna, I learned watching them that they don't have a huge variety in the voices that they do. But what they play with are the rhythms of the character's speech. And you can take two characters, Arliss Struve and Dee Dee Snavely, both of them have this kind of voice. But Arliss is right in here, and it's all right there. And Dee Dee Snavely talks very slow. It's almost the same voice. Also, I would be completely remiss if I did not say Artie Johnson. He is one of the people that I learned to love dialect work. His work with dialects, it is phenomenal. And then, of course, the reason I got into acting were Vincent Price and Roddy McDowall. So.
Well, and Krystal, before we hear your answer, I like that kind of leads me into a question I've heard you answer before, but in case somebody else hasn't, the voices that go into Frieza, there are a couple.
There are a couple. It's partially Roddy McDowall, and partially John Hurt, but specifically because John Hurt had this quality in his voice; it was very gravelly, which Frieza doesn't have.
Yeah.
But if you go back and watch John Hurt in I, Claudius, his Caligula is this raging tyrant that is just psychotic. And it's back when he's younger. And it's a very similar quality to Roddy McDowall's. And so really, a combination of those two are really where Frieza vocally comes from.
That's so interesting. Now, Krystal, what about you? What are some inspirations?
For me, it's weird because I don't quite know who any of my inspirations are. Because I never really met them. I do a lot of observation. One of the things that actually really made me enjoy acting was, as a little kid, I would go to observe court hearings, and just seeing how crazy people got made me enjoy acting and law. And so there are certain turns of phrase or vocal inflections that I'll use from a waitress that I met while I was at a restaurant, or certain ways of the way that someone's voice will crack when they scream is something I've heard in a court observation, or a way that someone will choke when they cry with someone testifying. And so a lot of it is I really love to people watch. And so if there's anything that I see someone do and I'm like, wow, that's really striking, I think of a way, how can I incorporate that into a performance?
You also have this really cool thing that you do. And I always brag on her on this, because as much as I am a fan of linguistics and dialects and mimicry and things like that, there's this thing that she does that is not mimicry, but she hears when someone talks. Explain it. I don't explain it well.
When somebody speaks, I hear an overwhelming letter of the alphabet. I don't know how to explain it, but it's everyone holds everyone's natural, comfortable way of speaking has their soft palate and their palate held in a certain way. So some people will hold, it'll be a little more horizontal. Some it'll be more vertical. Atticus, get off the laptop. But for me, I hear whatever letter of the alphabet that you would hold is prominent, that you would hold your palate for to make that R. So like in one show, if it's primarily R, they have a very rounded, almost, it's almost like a Minnesota accent. But if you hold your palate the way that you do an R, you make this. Or if it's an E and it's like really horizontal, that works really well for Valley girls. But then you can do like diphthongs. So if you do an E, but then hold it more like an I, you get Carrie Savage. Yeah. That's the person who I think of the most when I hear this. And so you can, and so
wow.
I explained it to Chris one day, and we got a really good system of working. So he'll be like, I need you to do an S voice. So hold everything like an S right now. Or I need you to do an R voice or an O voice. And it helps create a almost unlimited array of characters. And so I've got actors who I think represent the perfect R voice or the perfect N voice or the perfect O voice. And I'll do my imitation of how they naturally speak. But since I have a different voice, my version
it's never an impression of them.
My impression of their palette placement is a completely different character.
In fact, when I did The War God Only Knows, half of the characters had to play themselves and a goddess. And so your goddess, what was her position? Was O?
R and S.
R and S. So the goddess was placed as an S, and the girl was placed as an R. And I can't do that, but it sounded like I had two different actresses.
That is fascinating. I've never heard that description before, but I love it. And you can hear it and see it. Like when I'm watching you on screen, I see it in your face, the way that you move your mouth and your face.
The funniest was the first time we told Monica Rial about it. She was like, her jaw just hit the floor. And she's like, that's bad. She's like, I don't know that I can do that. It's weird. I can't. I do. Dialects, and I'm not able to do it.
Anyone can do it. If you just sit and say vowels, you'll go just say it in the mirror and keep your voice going and kind of just remember how your throat feels and how your mouth feels, and then try talking without really losing the tension that you're holding. And it's a completely different voice, and sometimes you get an accent out of it. Like the R one is very. I always did the R voice when I'm making fun of Chicago because that's where I'm from, and everyone likes to go to the museum and get some pizza and beer. But It's
so
something that everyone naturally
right
does.
after I get off of this live call is I'm going to go practice my vowel voices.
Absolutely. It's so weird because I think that's one of the things, and I found this as a director, this gets in a lot of people's way. Krystal you can use Krystal you can use her on a show and use her in about 8 different small roles.
Yeah.
And I used to have the same problem with Mark Laskowski, who I love working with, but Mark has such a wide vocal, he or John Gremion have such a wide vocal range, it's hard to cast them in a lead. Because why would I waste this? I could use them for 20 different people or use them for one.
And it makes business sense completely.
It's frustrating as an actor, though.
If I can play 12 bits, they only have to hire me for 1 hour instead of 12 hours for one actor.
Oh, that's true.
For one actor doing 12 things. To be honest, it's steady work. It keeps you working. It allows you to stretch out a lot of different acting styles. The only downside to it is usually other actors
really
are
interesting. I'm practicing it now. Good for you,
Did you
William.
see this? William says this is interesting. I'm practicing it now. Everybody's going to be practicing it.
Do it. I recommend it completely. It's a great skill to play with.
Yeah.
The only downside to it is usually other actors or fans saying, well, since you don't got this main role attached to your name, you must not be a real actor.
Yeah, we get a lot of that. We get a lot of she has gone to conventions and been introduced as my agent.
Oh.
She's gone to convention and sent like a bio of all this work that she's done. She's done a lot.
And then she said, and Chris Ayres' girlfriend.
And Chris Ayres' girlfriend. And I'm like, that's why I very rarely introduce her as my girlfriend, because I want her to be noted for the incredible work that she does.
I know, and you have such wide range. Like, it's crazy.
And honestly, and that's actually, to me, it's a huge compliment when people think I haven't done much work at all. Like, they'll always say, is this your first show? And I'll be like, But the biggest compliment I got was a 2-paragraph long diatribe of how bad of an actress I was, because in that show, The World God Only Knows, I was the only actress that they needed to hire a different actress to play the goddess part than the normal part, and it was both me. It was the biggest compliment I've ever gotten.
She was the only actress that didn't sound like the same actress.
They were like,
that's amazing.
So awful that she needed someone else to play the goddess version of her character, and I was like,
it's like I have a very similar when we were on tour with Peter Pan, and I try not to read reviews. I mean, I've had some great reviews. I've had some reviews that were horrible. I had one review that compared me to Bob Fosse, and I'm like, thank you for the compliment, but I am nowhere near that good. I mean, that's Ooga Booga territory. But when we were on tour with Peter Pan, our ages ranged from, I think our youngest was 23 and our oldest was 32 for the Lost Boys. They had adults playing children.
Yeah.
And one of the reviews said, the children who play the Lost Boys, just like most children on stage, have a real tendency to overact. And we didn't know how to take that. They said we were overacting, but they thought we were real children.
That's
so it's like your thing. Well, she was so bad they had to have 2 actresses. No, it's just one. So you don't know how to take that.
Yeah, you don't. That's interesting. Well, hey, I could chit-chat with y'all forever. You are both fantastic. In fact, somebody just said it in the chat. They love you guys. We all love you guys. And what's so great about that last question about who is your inspiration, you are both inspirations to so many of us. I mean, not just for your work. I mean, Chris, you have maintained a positive attitude. You have overcome so much. And Krystal, I mean, the caretakers, sometimes getting a little feedback. I'm going to turn it down. Krystal, the caretakers sometimes go unrecognized. And I know what it is to be a caretaker. Like, you have done amazing things. And I'm going to
say this real quick. The first time I was in the hospital for 3 months.
Yeah.
Krystal would, during the day, she would go to law school, or on the other days of the week, she was actually having trials assisting the district attorney of Houston. So she was in law school full time and doing trials full-time for the DA, assisting the DA.
Wow.
And yet she spent every night at the hospital on a cot beside my bed studying for law school.
Wow.
And then studying for the bar exam. And I fortunately was able to get out of school. I was out of school. I was out of the hospital for the week that she graduated. And I had a good friend of ours take me in a wheelchair with the oxygen, looking like death. And I actually got to see her graduate. And then
really?
since January, she has been here. Take care. My father was very sick. He just recently passed. And my brother and mom were taking care of him. And Krystal has stayed here and kept me at doctor's appointments and fed me and helped me. I had gained a ton of weight before she got here. I'm 5'2" and I was 180. And my doctors were like, no, you need to lose. And so she's got me down to 162 now. I've got about 4 or 5 pounds left to lose. The doctor's one.
I'm not like running a boot camp. I'm just steaming vegetables for once.
Steaming vegetables and I'm eating healthy food. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people, when I first got sick, well, not when I first got sick. Apparently, I had had emphysema for about 16 years prior to us finding out.
Really?
Emphysema and COPD move at a glacial pace, and they move incredibly slow. Wow. And the changes happen very gradually. I went from 160, which was my heaviest. When I went into the hospital the first time, I was 102 pounds.
Oh. Because
your body has to decide between breathing and eating. And so I would eat just enough to keep me alive. And I was thin as a rail. But a lot of people saw these changes in my personality. I was always angry. I was very paranoid. I had lost my sense of humor. I couldn't focus to save my life. And a lot of people. I had family. I had dear friends. The company that I used to work for blamed her. And a lot of them wanted her gone. They wanted her out of my life, and they thought, well, that'll get me back to who I normally am. Now I got to the hospital, and I discovered that some of the symptoms of COPD emphysema include quick to anger, depression, which would account for loss of sense of humor, paranoia, lack of focus. So all of these things that this disease were causing, a lot of people in my life blamed on her. And she was told by someone who was at one time one of my dearest friends to leave me alone and go back to Chicago.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, man.
And yet the studio I work for blacklisted her.
They thought I was trying to kill him or something.
Yeah. And here's the thing. None of them were with me every night in that hospital when I was almost dying. None of them sat there when I almost died. The person who was there was the person they tried to run away. And that's something I will never, ever forget. And so when you say she has been an incredible caretaker and it's been a thankless position, you have no idea, my love. You have absolutely no idea.
But I mean, I've read up on stuff, and I know that a lot of times the caretakers get blamed, or the person that they live with, because they want something tangible to blame instead of something scary like a disease that could come for everyone. So, and I just kind of thought if I did like a good enough job that if I did a good enough job, they would realize that I wouldn't ever try to give him a disease.
No.
I also can't. I cannot give emphysema. I am not a cigarette.
No one can give. And I will tell you this. That was the one. Oh my God, my mom was so funny. I had emphysema. I smoked 3 packs a day at times for 27 years. I had a lighter on a lanyard. She was one of the ones who begged me to quit. And my friend said, "Oh, she's just being, she's being too pushy. Go ahead and have another cigarette." And so when I got sick, I said, the reason I am sick, the reason I am dying is because of, what's the word I used, darling?
Double fisting cigarettes.
No, not double
for 30
fisting, not double
years.
fisting cigarettes for 30 years. Arrogance. And my mom got very upset. She said, Chris, you're not an arrogant person. And I'm like, no. I'm talking about human arrogance that says I can smoke and I won't get sick. It's the people who say I want to lose weight, but I don't want to eat the salad. It's human arrogance. The fact that we think, oh, this won't happen to me. People walk around without a mask. Oh, it won't happen to me. And then they get COVID. You know, I've always said you get one body. I was lucky enough to get a second chance. And don't think for a minute that I'm not going to honor the person that gave me my life, and the people that took care of my girlfriend, my mom, my father who's passed, my brother, my doctors. And if I were to smoke again, I think she would kill me before the cigarettes did. But the thing is, I'm not even interested in it. You know, we were watching something with somebody smoking the other day, and she asked me, do you ever see that and want to smoke it? I'm like, no.
Oh yeah, it was Mad Men, because they're smoking cigarettes in every scene, and I'm like, this doesn't bother you, does it? Because I wanted him to see Mad Men. I like
the only thing that bothers me. There are a couple of shows that I've always wanted to do as an actor.
Yeah.
That I don't know how I would now, because one of them specifically involves smoking.
Chris, they make fake cigarettes for stage. I've been telling you this for 8 years.
And I also, the funny thing is, I know a trick for smoking on stage that looks like you're smoking and you're really not. And I've actually taught non-smokers to smoke for stage. So I could feasibly do that, but one of them is Reefer Madness. I really want to play Ralphie someday in Reefer Madness. But that involves smoking the fake joints. So and if it came down to really having to smoke them and doing the show, then I wouldn't do the show.
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting too about how open you have been, on social media and in this interview and other interviews you've done. I think it'll also help other people, because you have been vulnerable, both of you, about your journey, about the transplant, about the struggles that you've had, and about Krystal, like the things that you've had to do. So you're also helping others, which I also hope that people who are watching will help you in turn, because
that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, because
I really hope it does help someone. A lot of people got I had several voice actor friends of mine get very upset that I posted that picture online with the scar across my chest. And here's my thing. I'm not ashamed of that scar. I'm very proud of it. And I want people to see the journey that I'm on. I've got that I will be posting at some point. My mom took a bunch of pictures of me in the hospital with tubes down my throat. And I asked her to. I said, please take these, because once I'm away from this enough, and I finally, just for the first time, got to look at them the other day. And, and they are some really rough pictures. But at some point, I'm going to post them, because I think it's important. Too often we say, oh, well, no, just ignore that. Just don't pretend that's not happening. And then it hits people, and then they feel alone.
The world is not positive vibes only.
No.
But I think a lot of us, especially entertainers, are very, very focused on promoting that mentality, so that when people who look up to us aren't feeling positive, they think that they're broken or that it's in error. And it's the world can be very, very awful. Hello, Atticus. But it's getting through it that I want to talk more about.
Yeah, it's how we get through it.
Yeah, it's how, and hopefully what our experiences can be used as someone else's tools.
Yes, absolutely.
That is so great. So along those lines, as we wrap up, do you have a final message that you want to share? And before your final message, I just want to remind everybody about your meet and greets on the 20th. Yeah, we've been, scrolling. You can also go to ConLive on Facebook, and then follow both Krystal and Chris on Twitter for the latest information about the celebrity voice actors who will be there.
The reason I post is because she reminds me to. She does Twitter so much better than I do.
Oh, okay. We'll follow Krystal.
Have you posted anything in the past week and a half? And I'm like, oh, maybe I should post something.
I do Twitter well, because a game I had worked on the Cooking Companions game.
Oh my gosh,
he taught me the developer was like, hey, when you post this, can you make sure to do it between 9 and 11 on a Wednesday? And I was like, what?
Oh.
And he gave me this rundown on like algorithms and marketing. And so now I feel like a god. I know the way.
Like, I know the ways of the Twitter and the social media world.
And I know
But
nothing.
then-
I do good to send email most days.
Well, at least there's Krystal. But remember, like, if you want to donate to GoFundMe, there's the GoFundMe. But Krystal and Chris, if you have any like parting words or something that you would like to share, it has been my absolute pleasure to visit with
It's a
you.
pleasure for us.
What a treat.
You're a phenomenal interviewer, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate. Now I'm speechless. I appreciate that so much.
Especially over the virtual stuff during the pandemic, some interviews can feel very like stiff and awkward, and I feel like we're across a table from you.
Yeah.
It's well, y'all are so easy and have such great stories. It's like it's so easy. It does feel like we're having.
Like I told you before we started, I just never shut up. That's the problem.
Well, that's a sign of a good interviewee. But yeah, if you have any final words you'd like to share before we wrap this up, because you have such a good message. I mean, y'all are, I kind of love what you said, like how the things that you've done to stay positive, and then that you are being honest and you're sharing your story, but also doing it to inspire others that even when times are tough, you can make it through and you can press on because people aren't alone. Like other people are going through things too.
You want to go first?
Yeah. I just hope that no matter what, if any, you celebrate, I hope that everyone has a genuinely happy holiday. There's so much craziness going on right now that I hope they wake up and during their holiday and are just really happy. And even if they're not with their loved ones, they can feel them or contact them and just know that things will get better. I'll be honest, I don't know how, but they always seem to.
Yeah.
So they will.
I've got two things. One, my mother always closes everything by saying cherish one another. And I think that's important, but I think equally important is to be kind to everyone around you. So often, and especially the people close to you. I will tell you, I take her for granted more than anyone else in the world ever could. The fact that she's always there for me, I just kind of take as a given some days. And I don't tell her thank you enough. And I feel like I don't show appreciation enough. And really show your appreciation and your gratitude to the people around you. And I will tell you, I learned this in the hospital. Kindness goes a long way. We're in a world where people are me. And especially in this industry, people are very self-absorbed. And to take a moment to be kind to other people, I really think it is vital.
And so for people that do caregiving and a lot of work for others, sometimes hearing a thank you or I appreciate you is like an 8-hour nap in a shower. It reinvigorates like none other. And yeah.
I've tried to be better because I realized for a while that I had gotten to the point where I just accepted everything she was doing to me and just really took it for granted. And I was, now she'll make these amazing pies. I'm like, thank you so much. In fact, we got into an argument the other day because I wanted pie for lunch. And
now I am going to look controlling.
She would not let me have pie for lunch because I'm trying to lose weight. And so she said, no, I'm making you this chicken wrap. And if you eat all of that, I'll give you a piece of pie if you'd like it. So she always gives me the pie if I want it, but it comes with the conditions of eating healthy food first. But I really do think the pies have helped because whenever if I eat lunch and have a small piece of the pie or eat dinner and have a small piece of the pie, I don't snack. And if I don't have something after that meal, I will eat like a bag of chips between lunch and dinner.
Yeah. And
I think she's discovered that making these amazing pies and just giving me a little bit just satisfies whatever that is that makes me want to eat between meals. And I've lost more weight since she started making the pies than I did before she started making them.
That's funny. That's
a weird thing.
No, it's more satisfying than one piece is more satisfying than like 20 Hershey Kisses, but calories are
That's true.
Y'all are hilarious. Well, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
And for you who have joined us, thank you. If you joined us on the live, we've loved having you here. If you're watching on Anime Adventures, thank you. And we will see you all later.
And let me know when it's on Anime Adventures. I'll share it on Twitter and Facebook.
Yes, thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.